Anyway, look, man, so let's jump into this because I want to discuss something here, and I still got Travis Hicks with me joining on the pod, and we got to bring in this team because this team here, the Houston Rockets, right now, they are hot. They are scorching hot. Second seed in the Western Conference. They won 15 out of their last 17 games. In their most recent game against the Golden State Warriors, it got a little chippy, but nevertheless, they still ended up winning that game 106-96. Now, I truly believe the Rockets are serious contenders here in the Western Conference. They got 5 players averaging 14 or more points right now. The last 10 games, they're first in rebounds. They're very physical. They play defense. They're streaky shooters, and they're a streaky team when it comes to scoring the ball. However, my only concern with the Houston Rockets is that they are not a good shooting team. They're just not a good shooting team in the Western Conference. And obviously, going to the playoffs, you got a lot of matchups that are going to be either helpful or harmful to you. But you got to be able to shoot and score the ball. But I just see some inconsistencies there with the Houston Rockets, despite all the glorious stats that they have and despite the great basketball they've been playing. So I think matchup is going to be crucial here for the Rockets. But I'm still just on the line of I don't know if they're a fraudulent number 2 yet, or if they're going to actually be okay come playoff time. So what do you think about that, Trav?
I think I'm kind of like the complete opposite. I believe they're a fraudulent number 2.
What?
I think they've had a lot of success in the regular season.
Wow.
I don't think it's going to translate in the postseason. They kind of remind me of the Grizzlies in the 22-23 year when they finished as a 2 seed but lost in the first round to the Lakers when the Lakers were a 7 seed that year. Because I believe they did a lot of great things. Obviously, Jalen Green's been balling. Dylan Brooks played amazing defense on Steph, and I can't believe I'm saying that because Steph is my favorite player. But I got to give him credit where it's due, but I just believe in the playoffs, how competitive the West is. This is a team that could easily play the Timberwolves or Clippers in round 1. And I'm taking the Timberwolves or Clippers because Kawhi is obviously a proven champion, and Anthony Edwards just led his team to a conference finals last year. So Jalen Green, them, obviously they haven't done anything in the postseason because they haven't been there yet, and they could surprise some people. Right. But I believe playoff experience matters, and I think with them being so young, they could either get upset in round 1 or round 2.
Okay, now look, I got to give some pushback because if they play the Clippers, I really think that's the dream matchup they would want to play if they play the Clippers. Because the Clippers, come on, man, let's be honest.
Kawhi and James Harden?
They've had Kawhi and James Harden for years and they ain't did nothing. They made it out to. I don't think they made it out the second round. Maybe once since they've been together.
In 21, they made a conference finals, but that is the only time and not an NBA finals, that really should be the standard for them. But I would say this, Harden's been hooping, and so is Kawhi. But the biggest what if, he's the biggest what if in all of sports, even more than Derrick Rose, is Kawhi's health. So if you want to say that, I can't really disagree on that because he could easily get injured game 1. I watched this man in 2023, Kevin Durant 38. They win game 1 against Phoenix, and he doesn't play the rest of the series.
Yeah, literally that year they had momentum. It's every year with the Clippers, bro. They always got the best team on paper in the Western Conference, and they go to the playoffs and get the boot first round, or go to the playoffs, get the boot second round, and they never live up to the hype. So I cannot stand by the Clippers come postseason. Maybe playing game. Maybe I'll give them some love come playing game and they actually get in the playoffs if depending on how the standings finally finish out and pan out to be. But I think if the Grizzlies can mess around and get the Clippers at the 7th seed, that would be lovely. That would be lovely for them. Because right now, the other options that they would have, you don't want to run into the Warriors. You don't want to run into the Timberwolves the way they've been playing. The best matchup right now is the Clippers that you want to see. And obviously, the Grizzlies have been scrappy, and I would take the Grizzlies maybe as a second, but still, I would much rather favor the Clippers just because they've been so up and down over the years every single time the playoffs come around of this time of the year. So I'm without a doubt picking the Houston Rockets if they have to play the Clippers. However, I will say, if you had to pick a matchup for you, who would you choose for the Houston Rockets if you had to choose somebody for them to play come playoffs?
I think that they cover well against the Grizzlies. I do believe they could beat the Grizzlies in the round 1. Okay. I think that would be the best matchup for them to get them as a 7th seed because the Grizzlies aren't as always a great as a road team to me. So I believe that's a matchup that could favor them because obviously you got Jalen Green, going against John Morant, Dylan Brooks, and those guys. Right. And obviously Thompson has been balling for the Rockets. He's made the block he had on yesterday to stop the alley-oop was one of the craziest things I've ever seen on the basketball court. So I think that would be a great matchup.
That dude is nasty, man. Both of the Thompson twins is disgusting. I love that. I love that Detroit has one of them, but man, Houston got a special dude over there in his twin brother. Because man, this dude has been balling, and he's only getting better and better as the season progresses. And that's something you love to see just from a development aspect for Thompson. And look, him on that roster helping out with Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet, and then Dylan Brooks. When those guys are scoring and playing good and running in transition, that's something that is super helpful, and that's when they become hard to beat. However, when they're just shooting the ball and they're not going in, much like any other team, it's bad basketball to watch, and it causes them to lose games and fall short. But that's just the story of what it is when you're not making threes. It just so happens to be that this team does not make threes much more than a lot of other teams. Like they're bottom 5 in the Western Conference of shooting, and that's my only concern. I think they can play defense and create easy offense, but just looking ahead and seeing who they potentially have to match up against, it is concerning.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's interesting because they could also, another team we haven't spoke about that's in the play-in, that will be in the play-in term as long as things pan out, is the Kings. Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, even though they've been obviously inconsistent, that's a team who also can match up with the Rockets. But I would say, and I would pick the Rockets in that series, I'm saying that's just another team they could play. Okay. The teams, in my personal opinion, I think the Rockets will lose to in round one is if they had to play the Warriors, which I believe you agree with. And even though you might not agree with the Clippers, the reason why I'm going to say they would lose to the Clippers too, because pandemic P, podcast P, he's definitely no playoff P. He's not on the team no more, and I believe he was ruining the chemistry from a year ago. Because I think the tandem of just Harden and Leonard could do it. That's just my personal opinion. But the Rockets are going to be a tough out for anyone because they are young. And they got many years ahead of being good. So it's interesting to see because this was a team that wasn't even in the playoffs a year ago.
Yeah, the biggest thing with this team, I think, is just being able to be consistent on the offensive end. Once you get guys who become consistent shooters, then that's when you will see the Rockets become consistent contenders come postseason. Because right now, they're definitely solid. They're a great team. But in a 7-game series, you know how it goes. Like you mentioned, if they play the Warriors, things might get a little shaky because you got so much experience on that Warriors team between Draymond, Steph Curry, and Jimmy Butler, who have all been to the finals on multiple occasions. So it's just it does become tough. But I think this Rockets team is on the right track, and they're a team I would not want to run into because they are so aggressive, they are so physical, and they are a solid team right now. I would probably choose the Lakers to play outside of the Rockets in the first round, just because the Lakers got Luka and LeBron, but we've seen them far more inconsistent than we've seen the Rockets.
No, that's very true. And plus, I know they just beat OKC yesterday, which Luka played fantastic, but he's also had a game against the Warriors shooting 6 of 19 with no three. So. And plus they're small. And I'll be honest, I don't know if you agree with us. I think the Lakers, the matchup against certain teams, now not every team, is actually easier because you don't have to worry about AD. AD is such a force down low. Nobody can do anything. You can get a Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green on a Luka and kind of contain them. So the Lakers might look good on paper, but I don't know.
It's burning them that they don't have a center. Because I look at it now, if they got to go against the Houston Rockets at any point in the playoffs or whatever the case is, Lakers, they in jeopardy of getting bumped down to possibly the 8th seed or whatever because they are in that whole 2nd through or 3rd through 8 in the rankings right now. So if the Lakers do bump all the way down to 6th or 7th seed, then it's they got to play the Rockets. Rockets are deep down low. Sengun and Adams coming off the bench, and that's a force. And Lakers don't really have guys, one, that have playoff experiences, bigs down low, and they don't really have any bigs that can bang down low like that. They got young guys who are developing and becoming a lockdown big and a solid big in this league, but they don't have anybody who's proven and who's already there. Sengun is already there. You look at Jabari, man, I can't think of his name. Man, but, you look at the other center, you look at the centers on Houston, they're already here. They proved that they've solidified their role in the league as defensive stoppers, as rebounders, and obviously a force down low. So this is what I think is going to be the biggest difference, where if the Rockets match up against the Lakers, I think the Rockets would have an advantage despite not being a lockdown or a knockdown shooting team. So I give credit to them, man, and they definitely deserve a lot of credit, man, because they've been balling lately too. And on that win streak, they've been playing solid teams. It ain't been like they just been having some easy breezy type of games on the schedule. Like, no, they've been playing some solid matchups. Like, Lakers is on there. They already beat the Lakers. They played the Suns, smacked the Suns. The Hawks was on there. Nuggets was on there. That was one of the losses. But, I mean, there's a lot of teams on here that they played multiple times, and they still got the dub. So it's not just the easy breezy schedule that they've won 15 of their last 17. But, I mean, I think this team is dangerous.
Okay, and I give you that because them beating the Warriors showed a lot because they've had trouble with the Warriors literally for more than a decade. So I think the Rockets, it's interesting. Actually, that makes me spark up a question for you.
Yeah.
Out of the young teams that are the top 2 teams right now in the West, who do you think has a better chance to make the conference finals between the Thunder or Rockets?
Easily, Thunder. I'm going Thunder, without a doubt. Because, and I say Thunder because we've seen that consistent start in SGA. Like, I think the rest of his team with the Oklahoma City Thunder may not show up in the playoffs, similar to how LeBron was always consistent in the playoffs, but then people would blame his teammates. Oh, this guy didn't show up. This guy didn't shoot well. He didn't do this. He didn't rebound. I think that could happen to SGA in the playoffs, but one thing you can for sure count on with the Oklahoma City Thunder is SGA giving you 25 plus points, without a doubt. True. With the Houston Rockets, Jalen Green, he may give you 25, but then the next game he might lay an egg and give you 12. Like, their stardom in Houston is just not as consistent as the stardom that I've witnessed in OKC because SGA is always consistent. So I would have to go with SGA because if anything, I feel like we could lean on the shoulders of Oklahoma City Thunder's star to actually will his way, get them to win. And then the rest of the guys do have playoff experience. I just think the biggest of the biggest stage, they'll probably choke. But that's a whole nother story. That's a different story right there. Anyway, look, man, that's all we got for today. So I appreciate you. If you've been tuning in, shoot us a quick take, 219-413-9405. Let us know what you're thinking about the playoffs coming up in the Western Conference. Let us know who you think is hot, who's not, who may make something happen come playoffs. And, of course, we'll play your take back on our next episode. So, go ahead, leave us that quick take, 219-413-9405. And then I'm going to go ahead and just leave off a positive note here. And the positive note here is just going to simply be find your gift and embrace it and make sure you continue to expand on it. And what I mean by that is just, find your gift, find the thing within yourself that helps other people, that make other people smile, and then expand on it. So accept that however you want to accept it. Hopefully you interpret it the right way, however is going to be best for you, whatever. But other than that, look, Travis, man, where can they find you on social media?
Yes, man. Travis Hicks _reporter on YouTube. The same thing for Instagram. Travis _reporter on Twitter, and just Travis Hicks on Facebook and LinkedIn. As always, Manny, it's always a pleasure being with you. This is by far, in my opinion, the best sports podcast out there. Everybody should go subscribe. You do an amazing job. It's literally a pleasure being on you. This is always like the most fun thing to do, so appreciate it.
Well, I really do appreciate those words, man. And, it's an honor having you on here. And I look forward to getting you back on the podcast as well. Definitely got to bring you back as the playoffs continue to heat up and everything continue to spark up. So I'm excited about that. But other than that, man, look, that's all we got for today. I appreciate it. Send this to a cousin, a brother, an aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, coworker, friend, family member. I promise you they will not mind. And then follow us on Instagram at The Run Podcast, TikTok at The Run Podcast, YouTube at The Run Podcast. And we'll be back later on this week, and so on and so on and so on.